When you start conducting performance reviews as a manager or a leader, you'll probably ask yourself, what questions should I ask? The mistake a lot of emerging leaders make when it comes to performance review questions is their questions are too vague. They're not specific enough, which leads them to gather no information at all or unhelpful information, making the performance review a waste of everyone's time. So in this video, we're going to go through a series of performance review questions that you can ask as a manager or a leader. These questions are targeted, so they will help you get valuable information that you can work with as a leader. This video ties in really well with the video I have done previously on my channel, how to conduct a performance review as a manager or a leader. I will link to that in the description below. Save it to your watch later list to watch it after this one. There are 5 areas you should focus on in a performance review, and the first one is that person's growth since the last performance review. Performance reviews should be conducted every 6 to 12 months. This is so that there is a link between the last performance review and the current performance review. This will help you to track that person's performance and growth and progress between the performance reviews. You probably agreed on goals or action items with that person in the last performance review you conducted with them. This is a brilliant place for you to start the current performance review conversation because it will help you to track their progress around those key points, around those goals that you decided upon with them, and see how much they have improved, how much they have grown, and whether they have achieved those goals that you both set. Plus, it helps that person to feel proud. It helps them to relax for the performance review conversation because, as you probably imagine, people get pretty nervous for these types of meetings. So when you're talking about growth since their last performance review, here are some sample questions that you can ask them. What accomplishments are you most proud of since your last performance review? What goals did you achieve since your last performance review? Can you describe 2 to 3 areas in which you feel you have improved since your last performance review? And once you've asked these questions, make sure you give that person enough space and time to elaborate and talk about their answers. The second category of questions is around their current performance. And what you really want to know here is, what is that person doing that is working? What is that person doing that is not working in their job? You, as a leader, should have been thinking about these things in the lead up to the performance review conversation. You may have even taken notes, writing down things that you feel are working, things that you feel are not working for that person. Now you need to include that person in the conversation because maybe they can give you a different perspective that you hadn't thought of, and maybe they can uncover and raise some areas of their job that are working and not working that you were completely unaware of. Sample questions that you can ask here are, what tasks or responsibilities do you enjoy the most? What tasks or responsibilities do you enjoy the least? Can you describe 2 to 3 areas you feel you excel in? What would you change in your current role? If there was one area that you could change about your current performance, what would it be? These questions will help you identify areas of that person's job they are happy with and unhappy with, and areas that they can improve on. You should also share your opinion on how you feel their current performance is going at work. But by opening up the conversation this way, by asking their opinion on their current performance, what's working and what's not working, you can get a really good idea on that person's level of satisfaction at work. The next category of questions is around areas for improvement. This is really important because it will help you to understand areas in which that person needs to improve so you can organize training or coaching or some kind of development opportunity to advance them. In this part of the conversation, you really need to identify what that person needs to improve on, what area do they need help with. Then you need to turn the conversation into how they can improve. So there are really 2 focus areas for this point in the performance review conversation. Sample questions you can ask are, what accomplishments are you least proud of since your last performance review, and why? What are 2 to 3 challenges you have encountered in your job? What are 2 to 3 areas that you feel you need to improve on? What do you need to improve in those areas? What will you do to overcome the challenges that you've faced? What can I do to better help you improve in those areas? The next category of questions is about that person's career plans. Now, it's really important for you as a manager or a leader to understand what that person hopes to achieve in their career so you can help them get there. I would start by reviewing their career plans from the last performance review, have a quick discussion about whether their priorities have changed and whether they are still aiming for the same things. Then I would delve into these questions. Did you achieve the career plans we talked about in the last performance review? Why or why not? What are your most important goals for this year and why? What do you want your next position in this company to be and why? What professional growth opportunities would you like to explore this year and why? How can I help you reach your career goals? Notice that many of these questions are followed with a why. Why do they want to achieve those things? This is really important because it will help you to understand the intrinsic motivator that person has as to why they want to achieve those things. When you understand this, you will understand more about that person. When you understand more about that person and what motivates them, you are better able to help that person achieve what they want. The next category of questions is about targets, goals, and actionable items for the next performance review. You're going to take all the information you've discussed with that employee during the performance review conversation, and you're going to create a list of 3 to 5 actionable items, key items, goals that you and the other person will work towards for the next performance review. These are the items that will be tracked between this performance review and the next one that you have. And as you've learned at the beginning of this video, the next performance review conversation you have with that person, you will begin by focusing on these key items, these action items, and these goals. This will help you start the conversation for the next performance review. Keep in mind that there will be action items, goals for the employee themselves, but it's also important you remember there'll probably be action items for you as well. You may need to organize training. You may need to pair them up with a specific person so they can improve their skills. You may need to get them in contact with someone or give them a stretch project. So remember, you will have action items as well as the person who you are having the performance review for. Here are some sample questions that you can ask. What are 2 to 3 goals you would like to achieve for the next performance review? What are 2 to 3 action items you need to commit to for the next performance review? What do I need to commit to for your next performance review? These things need to be clear for both you and your employee, so you both know what you are responsible for, and so you can work towards them between now and the next performance review. After the performance review, you also need to follow up. So the performance review doesn't just stop with this conversation that you have, you also need to follow up and do more work after the performance review. I talk about following up after a performance review in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got a lot of valuable content from it. If you did, please like this video below and subscribe to my channel for more content like this to help you advance as a leader. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.